Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my political and cultural tube channel. Today, I am going to discuss a topic that in many situations that I have lived, I had to face because there are some reasons about the way I think and people don't understand. So I want to clarify some terms or some aspects about my point of view because actually this is my channel in which I express my points of view according to specific topics. Today, I am going to discuss about atheism, and the final conclusion it's going to be or it's going to be I am going to give the reasons to prove that it is a new religious tendency. And also, when somebody calls another person that person is anathema, that person who judged the other, basically that person shows how ignorant is, how his or her abilities of reading are very deeply wrong, and how this person uh, interprets the reality and don't doesn't understand the way things should be interpreted. Let me share you a screen in which I have planned this video. All right. Well, basically, the conclusion is going to be that atheism is a new religion, but it has been created step by step during the humanity. But basically, I have received this kind of judgment from other people, not because I am anathema, uh, just because that people don't understand that um, when we mention or when we talk about atheism, we actually don't know what uh, exactly it means and what are the references that people should take into account in order to make this kind of judgments. For me, when somebody says that atheism exists, it proves that there is a lack of information in that person, and there are or there is a lack of reading abilities, and it provokes ignorance, which is the lack of the ability to have reasonable judgments, or the lack of the ability to reason, right? First of all, I am going to clarify that term. When you say athem or atheism, it means that that person or uh, that group of people don't have any God. It means that you have to understand that those people don't accept gods. Well, let's see. Let me give you an example in order to clarify this point. Imagine the situation. I like it, and I have read it a long time ago. I don't remember where, but I read it. Imagine the situation. If a tree in a wood falls down, but you are not next to the tree that falls down, does the sound that is produced by the falling down of the tree, it is heard. Do you hear it or not? Does it exist or it doesn't exist? I mean, probably just because you don't hear the sound of that situation when the tree fell down, it doesn't necessarily mean that the sound doesn't exist. In other words, some people say that gods don't exist, but actually it is because they don't accept that they exist, but actually they exist because according to the traditions, the first way to explain the origin of the humanity, the first way to explain the origin of the universe, it's the myth. And basically, the myth uses gods to explain how the earth was created, how the nature phenomena exist, and how the planets were created, how the universe was created, or universes, I would say. So probably people say, well, I don't accept that the universe was created by gods, but the human tendency to explain or to answer the most important questions, which are, where does the humanity come from? And what are the reasons why we are here in this planet haven't been answered. So the only way to explain that it's through gods. At the moment, I am not going to discuss if there is a Christian God or an Indian God or an American God or an Azteca God or a Mexica God. I'm not going to discuss about the gods. I'm going to discuss about how do people need myths as the first and the great explanation how we become as human beings. And the only way that we at the moment have uh, is through gods. Not only because it is a cultural tradition and we accept it as something natural, but also because the science itself needs uh, gods to try to prove that they don't exist. I mean, when a scientist says gods don't exist, he has to prove that they don't exist. And in the process of proving that, he is accepting the nature or the existence of those gods. So it is something, it seems to be complicated to accept. But we have to go back to the sound of the tree which was falling. If you don't accept that the sound of the tree which was falling exists, it is the same reference. You don't accepts that the existence of gods, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't exist. And even if you say that the gods don't exist, when you mention them, only when the human beings mention things, when they use words to to mention something, in this particular case, gods, they are accepting that they exist. So if you say God does not exist, it means that you are validating that something, God, for example, in this case, exists, and you have to deny its or his existence, right? So For you, probably God or gods don't exist, but for many people, they exist. Unfortunately, not many people question or ask questions themselves about the existence of gods. And it is particularly the new tendency about criticizing and asking questions, uh, well, the same questions that haven't been answered, particularly because I have seen some different channels in TikTok. And of course, there are many channels in which people dance or play instruments or something like that, or just talk or smile, or just because women are beautiful and there are many men who sent them flowers or presents, etc. But there are a few channels that criticize or ask questions about this topic of atheism or other important topics that concern the humanity. And of course, those are my favorite channels. And they say that they atheists in those channels, they say that uh, atheism, they take a part of the atheism, but they haven't understood that in linguistic way, when you mention something, it exists. This is why we are creators of words. We are little gods who create different words. For example, when one writes a poem or when one writes a short story, that short story or that story that we create doesn't exist before it has been written or it has been mentioned. And that word is created word by word, as the origin of the humanity and the world was created by the Christian God. And it's particularly uh, important to mention that God, the Christian God, created the world by using his words. And it's something particularly because it is exactly what a writer does. A writer creates a world by using words. It is something interesting to take into account. But the second reason about uh, the existence about the existence of God is when one takes the religious books, in this particular case the Bible, and we read. And when we read, we have to understand that reading, it's an ability that everybody has to develop in order to have some arguments to explain or to try to answer those important questions of the humanity. And when you read the Bible in Exodus 20th, the 20th, there are the Ten Commandments. And one of the Ten Commandments says, I am not going to accept other gods in front of me. First of all, we have to clarify that. Who is talking? According to the Bible, there is a God, a Christian or the Jewish God, who is talking. So, first of all, there is a God. And according to the Bible, according to that book, that God is mentioning that he doesn't like human beings to have other gods. It means that there are other beings like him, such powerful, eternal, with all of his abilities to be mentioned in the Bible, in the holy book of the Christians, and they are mentioned by the same Christian God. So we have to go back. And we have to say that if, as a human being, I mention the existence of things by using words, and that those things exist because I mentioned them, or even they exist because I have got the word reference in my mind and in my brain. And it doesn't matter if I see the action or I see them or I prove them. You have to understand that when God mentions, I mean, the Christian gods mention other gods, it means that there are other people, other beings, other superior beings that are equal to them, to him, sorry. So it is complicated, I understand. It is difficult to accept that the same God that many people believe in this world, 2,000 million of people in this world believe in the existence of this God, this Christian God. It is important to accept, if they say that the Bible is a holy book, if it's a holy book, and in this holy book the words of their God are contained, so it is important to accept that these words that he mentions, that he says, are factual. So when God, the Christian God, says, I don't accept other gods different from me, he refers to other superior beings as powerful as him, or probably more powerful. Because when he say, I don't accept others, probably they are more powerful. These two reasons, the lack of information and the lack of the reading abilities, it's really ignorance. And religious people, those particularly Christian and particularly Protestants, because they are more aggressive when they are defending their point of view, because when the arguments uh, are not accepted by people like me, so they become aggressive and they say that I am an anathema and that I am a part of the atheism, etc. Well, let's accept, but let me try to explain my point of view. It is ignorance. First of all, because they don't accept that the world was created by words. And if somebody denies the existence of gods, or their God, I mean the Christian God, probably those who don't accept the existence of the Christian God, they are accepting the existence of other gods. And the lack of information of these unreasonable people, these people who have a very big lack of information, or a very big lack of reasonable abilities, they don't know or they don't read very well the holy book that they say it is the most important in the world. So they haven't improved their abilities to read, because in the book other gods are mentioned by their same God. So it is not atheism, it is believing in other gods different from the God they believe. And this is what they don't accept. And this is what is used to go to the different doors of the people at their houses and asking them if they believe in God or they don't believe in God. And this is the reason why these Christian people judge others, particularly not Catholics, particularly Protestants in different tendencies, go to our houses and knock at our doors, and they judge us as if we were uh, Athens, and we are not. Actually, we believe in different gods. Why? Because there are different gods, and they don't accept that they exist other gods because they don't know how to read very well. They are not very good readers. And particularly, this same attitude of coming to my home and at knocking my door and explaining to me the religion through the Bible that I have already read, probably they are just uh, acting with the same mysterious and with the same violence that during the history uh, all Jews and Israeli and Catholics, well, in that epoch they were not mentioned Catholic, they were named Christians. It is the same attitude they had when they come to America and destroyed big and great civilizations such as Aztecas, Mayas, Incas, etc. It is the same attitude because other people believe in other gods and they don't accept those gods. However, their God have mentioned that those gods exist. And that God, the Christian one, is jealous. Jealousy, which is one of the most terrible passions of human beings. He assures that he's jealous, right? Uh, he assures that he is going to take vengeance against those who don't believe uh, in him. So vengeance, jealousy, ira, I mean angriness, those are some of the God's uh, part of his character. I am going to talk about this topic in other video because there is something interesting to say about this. They are considered sins to human beings, but they are not considered sins to God. So it is a great discussion. When those gods, which who are mentioned in the Bible, these other gods, they have got the same abilities, the same capabilities, right? And some Christian people that I know because I have my family, members of my family, not all of them, are Protestants, and the most radical people about the Christianism are the Christians, are the Protestants, not the Catholics. And other people who know my point of view come to me in order to try to convince me by using their arguments that I should believe in their God, and they they really haven't read, they haven't interpreted very well the Bible, and probably they haven't read any other book different from the Bible, assuring that they have already read it from the beginning to the end. But I am not sure because I know that this generation doesn't like reading, so they expect or they wait until their leaders, named by pastors, I mean priests or whatever, uh, explain the Bible, and they memorize and they learn by heart what their leaders say. So this attitude of lack of reading provokes a generation of Christians that criticize others but don't have arguments enough to interpret, to do what it is demanded to them to read, to understand, to comprehend the Bible. And these kind of people, they come to me and they use the same argument to to explain the existence of gods. For example, they once they have mentioned that there are gods. For example, my telephone is a god because I spent a lot of time at using it. That money is my god because I like it and I work very hard in order to get it. And they mention not other gods in order to make me uh, get into reason, or get into their reasons, get into their arguments. But it is important to analyze these points of view in two different ways. First, are they really gods? Well, if those things such as the mobile, my cell phone, if money, if my if sex, for example, if power are gods, how are they being created? How were they born? So let's see. If a mobile or a cell phone is a god, who created the god? That god was created by human beings. So let's do a reflection. So according to what they explain, the existence of other gods, they are using the same the atheism argument to say that gods were created by human beings. It is very illogic. It is unreasonable to understand that they say that a cell phone or a mobile is a god, that money is a god, that sex is a god, etc., without understanding that those gods were created by human hands. So, if those gods were created by human hands, this is the same argument that atheism uses to deny the existence of the Christian God. It is important to assume that if the same Christian people are telling you that a cell phone, sex, or money, whatever, are gods, they are also assuming that their God, the Christian God, was created by human beings. And according to the reference that I have made about the characteristics of his character, such as jealousy, angriness, vengeance, etc., those gods, that God, the Christian one, has got the same human characteristics. So if that God has got human characteristics, it is logic to suppose that that God was created as many others by uh, human hands, by human beings. And you can see, for example, Zeus in the Greek mythology, who is very passionate and he has got a lot of lovers, and Thor and Odin, sorry, Ra, Quetzalcoatl, all of them created the humanity. So it is supposed, according to this very poor explanation about gods, that Christians believe that gods are created by human beings, by human hands. So their God was also created by their hands. But it is not only the most relevant aspect, but also it is important to clarify that, well, let's suppose that they are not talking about the mobile or the cell phone or sex or money itself as a god. But let's suppose that they are trying to explain that behind those creations existed some gods. And then if they say a god created the cell phone to have you totally manipulated, if they accept the existence of other gods behind money creation, sex creation, and cell phone creation, so they are accepting the existence of other gods, as well as their God, the Christian God, has mentioned other gods in the Bible. So it is coherent, it is logical. But well, let me finish this session. It is important to clarify that when you have a religion which is the wreath which is used to it is a wreath which is used to interpret the gods ways of thinking or ways of working or revealing their wills or their desires. The religion is just a human creation. Not only the gods, but also the religion. The religion is the myth, the tradition, the cultural tradition, how human beings should approximate to their gods, independently the kind of gods they are adoring, right? So when the human beings don't have religion, they don't have myth. I have explained it in the second video of these topics. And when you don't have religion, you use gods to explain the origin of the universe. And it is logic that when you mention a god, it exists by itself, because you have already mentioned it. But so you have to understand that there is a group of people who don't have any god, but at the same time, using the same theory, the same theoretical aspect, they are creating their own God, who is a no God. Probably this no God probably will be or is a God who probably doesn't like killing people, as well as Christian God killed people in Jericho and finished with a lot of cultures such as Aztecas, Mayas, Incas, Guanes, Cacheguas, and for example, in the past when this God destroyed Sodoma, Gomorrah, etc., because of his he wanted he it was his desire, because that people was not to him, they were to other gods, right? And the absence of gods, the absence of religion, but mentioning the God in order to deny his existence is creating a new God that probably will not kill, will not be jealous, probably will not feel angriness or ira, etc., etc. So atheism is a new religion. It's a new way of thinking, because people got tired of this God who has different human tendencies to take revenge, to take vengeance, which are considered sins to human beings, but not for him. Thank you for attending this long video. Thank you for discussing this beautiful topic. And I accept your commentaries in the box. Please share this with other people. Thank you very much.